Hi, I'm Dilip Thomas, and I'm a researcher at CURAM, Center for Research in Medical Devices. And today I'm going to talk to you about one of the most complex organs of our body, the brain. A human brain can be classified or categorized into four main parts. One is the hindbrain, which is the brain stem that is above your spinal cord. Second is the cerebellum. Third is the midbrain that is on top of the hindbrain, and the cerebellum, which covers most of your brain mass in your skull. So to start with the functions of the brain one by one, to start with the hindbrain basically has two functions. One is to control all the involuntary movements in your body, such as breathing, your heartbeat, digestion, etc. And the second function is basically relaying information that is coming from your body to your brain. Now coming to the second part, which is the cerebellum. This is basically a part that coordinates movement in your body, and this is basically your storage training DVDs in your brain, where all the information regarding basic activities such as walking, running, etc. Are stored in there. And this is developed throughout your life when you learn to ride a bicycle or a skateboard, to very professional movement activities of a ballerina. Now coming to the main part of the brain, the cerebrum. The cerebrum is also called as the seat of intelligence because it processes very complex information. The cerebrum can be divided into four main parts. One is the frontal cortex, the parietal cortex, the temporal cortex, and the occipital cortex. The frontal cortex that processes very complex thinking, such as logical thinking, reasoning, your emotional intelligence, etc. Then there is the parietal lobe that controls all the sensory information. Then there is the temporal lobe, which activates listening, speech, and all the language and memory related functions. And then there's the occipital lobe, which is right opposite to your eyes, that controls all your visual stimulus. So right now when you're watching this video, the occipital lobe, where the visual stimulus has been received, and the temporal lobe are flashing at the moment, because they are all processing the information that you're getting now. So coming to the next part, which is the midbrain. So the midbrain is composed of the thalamus, the hypothalamus, and a pituitary. So the thalamus is basically the part which corresponds to a post office, where all the mails, all the messages from the body is received and is distributed across the brain for processing. And the hypothalamus does functions such as controlling your body temperature, maintaining homeostasis, and your perception of day and night. The small gland pituitary, which is right at the bottom of the hypothalamus, is pretty small, but it does big things for you because it secretes hormones that help you grow, and also secretes other hormones during your adulthood development. When you zoom in and you magnify into the brain, you'll see a lot of different neurons, which are basically the functional units that transmit and receive information from your body. Now a neuron can be described as the hand like here, where the fingers are the dendrites that receive sensory information from other neurons, and your palm is the cell body that controls the normal survival functions of the neuron, followed by a transmission cable that transmits signals to the next neuron. Now this transmission cable also has a sleeve, which is called the myelin sheath, that prevents degradation of the signals that is transmitted through this neuron. And at the bottom of this transmission cable, which is also called as an axon, there are axon terminals that communicate this message to the next following neuron. Now any disruption in these signals over time, over the time of your development or during the life course, can cause neurological disorders. One such neurological disorder is Alzheimer's, where there is accumulation of abnormal proteins in the brain which kill these neurons and induce losses in memory and other important functions that the brain carries out. At CURAM, we are trying to find technologies and make devices that can reverse these damages in the brain, and which will help improve the quality of life of patients who suffer with these diseases.